Hello and welcome to StateScoop TV. I'm Jake Williams. I'm here with James Collins. He's the Chief Information Officer for the state of Delaware. James, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Jake.
Thanks for being here. So James, whenever we come to a conference like NASCIO, we spend a lot of time talking about how the role of the CIO is changing. How have you seen that in your state?
You know, I really do think it is changing. One of the things we're really focused on right now is our governor is chairing himself a Family Services Council. And so he wants to look at how state services can be targeted to improve outcomes in education and employment and reduce violence and addiction. And so he's chairing this council himself. And I'm a member of this council. And what became very apparent to me is the question in my mind was, what is the data telling us around this to help target those services? So I see myself as a convener of breaking down the silos and bringing together the data sets to help us deal with real world problems that are affecting Delawareans.
That's great. And some of those real world problems I know you're addressing every day and in a ton of projects that you get to work on. Tell us about the biggest project that you and your team have completed this year and how's it really changing the way that you and your state do business?
The biggest project. So there's a lot of things going on, what I call under the hood, that is going to facilitate our employees being able to access information anytime, from anywhere, and from any device. So we're incorporating infrastructure as a service, commercial infrastructure as a service into our service offerings. We're deploying platform as a service to give agencies more autonomy as it relates to their applications, where they don't have to necessarily have a developer, but they can configure it themselves. And we're expanding open data, and more on the second part of open data than the first part. We're continuing to publish data sets on our open data portal, which was one of Governor Carney's action plan for Delaware priorities. But we're now turning to focus on sharing data among state agencies. So we're really excited. We've got a lot of traction with our Department of Health and Social Services. They have a treasure trove of data that can help Delaware citizens, and so we're actually working together to start to do some analysis on that data.
Cool. That's really cool. Another thing that we talk about a lot here is cybersecurity. How are you preparing your team and your state to become more secure as that cyber threat landscape continues to grow?
Yeah, so I think we're continuing to, unfortunately learning from some of the other things that are occurring. I'll tell you, the recent worldwide ransomware attacks have created what I call a new normal. Where, we were kind of casual generally about updates and patches and things like that. Certain things couldn't get updated, and that just can't happen anymore. So basic cyber hygiene is critical. So we're being a lot more aggressive with our patching, and if machines aren't patched, we've got a policy that we have to disconnect them from the internet. So that's learning all of those lessons, squeezing out every little bit of lesson we can from WannaCry and some of the other major breaches that have happened, and continuing to beat the drum of it's not just IT's role, but it's everyone's role as it relates to protecting our citizens' information.
That's great. And so, with a lot of the projects that you already mentioned and a lot of the work you've been doing on centralization and bringing everyone together, that's opening up, I'm assuming, some room for emerging tech. And so how are you and your team planning and preparing for emerging tech, whether it be AI or blockchain or anything like that?
So we're doing a little bit of AI in our cyber approach, using some analytics around cyber. We are working with our Secretary of State's office and other agencies through blockchain. We're actually just in a meeting last week with Secretary of State's office and talking about blockchain. This session, our legislature passed legislation that will clear the way for blockchain to be used among our corporate entities with stocks and other asset type documents. And so that's going to clear the way. So there's a planning committee, because the tough part is really not the technology. I mean, distributed ledger is distributed ledger, and if you're connecting with other systems, those interfaces are not hard to figure out. the business model and the value proposition is what we're really kind of just helping the agencies walk through that to figure out how exactly they want to utilize blockchain. So definitely active in Delaware, and the momentum continues, but I think the Secretary of State is rightly being very prudent about taking those steps.
Sure. Well, James, I look forward to hearing more about all of that and all the things that you're doing in Delaware. So thanks for being with us today.
It was great to be with you. I didn't even mention centralization, which is like a miracle.
Do you want to? We can talk about it if you want to jump in.
So we're continuing with centralization, and the governor put an executive order in, and he established what's called the Government Efficiency and Accountability Review Board.
Right.
And so it's not like a one-time thing, but it's supposed to be an ongoing board to driving efficiency in government. One of the, there's priorities around education, there's priorities around economic development, there's priorities around health, and one of the priorities is around IT. And so we're actually working with the GEAR to do a full assessment of the state's IT from a software, from a hardware, from a spend, from a resources, and from all of the various services, to really establish a end state of what the state's going to look like, how that will benefit the state, having a consistent chargeback model and different things like that. So that is a major initiative that we're working on with the GEAR as well.
Well, that's really exciting, and looking forward to seeing that continue to develop as well. You're rocking and rolling, man.
We're getting there, and the last thing I would say is using data as a strategic asset is super important.
Yeah.
And what's become really clear to me is that can't be after centralization is complete. We've got to actually begin that work a lot earlier. So we're repurposing some resources to begin to help agencies to do deeper analytics around their data, so that as Delaware government, we can be making data-based decisions that make us more efficient, improve services, prevent fraud, and deliver the services that Delaware citizens expect.
All right. Can't finish any better than that. James, thank you so
much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
For more about what James Collins is working on in the state of Delaware, check out statescoop.com. I'm Jake Williams, Statescoop's Associate Publisher and Director of Strategic Initiatives, here with James Collins, the Chief Information Officer of Delaware. Thanks for watching.